Woo! Okay, ladies and gentlemen, happy Veterans Day to you. I'm filming today from our day off. Today is a wonderful reminder that there were people who in our past who have served in the military, men and women, people of all different ethnicities, to fight for the freedoms that we take advantage of today. So hopefully you guys are doing the right thing and taking a day off and just having a nice evening to remember those people. I think one of the best ways that we can honor what they've done is to just keep on working. So I've spent the day just grading your stump speeches and filming this video. So what I want to do today is I want to focus our lesson on animal phyla. Last lesson was on plant phyla. Plants are wonderful. They are so unique and distinctive and have such great qualities to them. Animals are more recognizable to us. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to dive into the animal phyla that many of you presented on in your stump speeches. And so in order to do that, why don't we just take out our bills and take a look at where we are. Where are we? Where are you? There you are. Okay, fantastic. So on page 30, the title is Animal Biodiversity. And on page 31, the title is Vertebrate Biodiversity. So we're going to investigate all different kinds of animals today, some of which will be vertebrates, which have backbones. On page 31, let's write down the goal of the day to focus our lesson. So I'm going to stop that share. And I'm going to bring up the goal of the day. Where are you? There you are. Nope. Come on. Gotta move all these windows. There you go. Okay, where are you? Bazing. Okay. Please write down the goals 2 and 3 for page 31. So I'm going to read them out loud. Students understand external recognition of porifera, cnidaria, platyhelminths, annelida, mollusca, arthropoda, and chordata. Those are the 6, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different phyla that we're going to investigate in the animal kingdom. Finally, we're going to dive into specifically the phyla chordata to look at a bunch of different groups of organisms: birds, mammals, amphibians, reptiles, and bony fish. You guys made some really awesome stump speeches. Most of these were not covered in the stump speeches, so we're going to cover them today. Here we go. Stop that share, and I'm going to bring up the agenda for today. Where are you? Here you are. Okay, here's the agenda. Number 1 is we're going to do a brain jog. Brain jog number 3, plant phyla, page 26. I'm going to put this onto Schoology. Please make sure you answer it. Number 2, I'm going to show you a video of something called a pitcher plant, and you're going to add it into your Pokédex. I still haven't made the full list of organisms you need for your Pokédex, so just keep on adding them, and then I'll make you a cumulative list when I find the time. I also want to introduce you to something called a trilobite. Now, trilobites are so cool. They're ancient arthropods that existed millions of years ago, and they look a little bit like horseshoe crabs in the modern day, but they're very old and extinct. And number 4 is we're going to do animal phyla, an explanation on page 31, and finally add all these organisms into your Pokédex. Okay, without further ado, let's skip ahead and talk about the animal phyla now. This goes on page 31 of your bills. Here's what it looks like. Buzzing, animal phyla, porifera, cnidaria, platyhelminthes, mollusca. We're going to try to do as many as we can today. I do want to keep the video below half an hour. So if we make it to half an hour and we don't finish, that is okay. We'll do our best. This is called animal phyla. This goes on page 31 of your bills. This is for IB. You guys are cohort number 6. You will always and forever be my favorite. Cohort number 6. And you're gonna make a horizontal line like this, like a horizon, and you're gonna split up the page into 8 rectangles. Ta-da, just like this, 3 lines going down the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 boxes. I'm gonna name the boxes for you. The first is called Porifera. The second is called Cnidaria. The third is called Platyhelminthes. Oh gosh, going a little bit past the line there, sorry. The fourth is called Mollusca, mollusks. The fifth is called Annelida. The what was it? Sixth is called Arthropoda. And the seventh is called Chordata. Okay, we're going to go over these one by one, and we're going to identify some of the wonderful characteristics of each type of phyla. If you're anything like me, I grew up loving animals, loving biology, which I guess is kind of one of the reasons why I became a biology teacher, is because there's so many wonderful living things out there. Okay. Porifera, this phyla are our sponges. And no, I don't mean the kitchen sponge. I mean a ocean sponge. So the sponge in your kitchen is not living. It can't reproduce on its own, etc. An ocean sponge looks something like this. Sponges are so simple. What we're going to do is we're going to categorize each one. You know how for plants it was seeds, organs, fruit, and vascularization. We're going to do the same thing with the animals, except we're going to characterize them as having a mouth or anus, external features, oops, mouth or anus, external features, we're also going to talk about its symmetry, and we're going to discuss whether it has any kind of skeleton, and any fun facts that we want to include here as well. Okay. Sponges have neither a mouth or an anus. No mouth, no anus. How does it eat? How does it release its waste? There are these little holes that perform something called filter feeding. So what a sponge can do is they can open and close the hole depending on when they want to eat. Water will flow through the hole, and any microorganisms that are caught within the tendrils of the sponge will be eaten, and that's how a sponge eats. But it doesn't eat like we do. It doesn't have a mouth, does not have an anus, it has holes. It has these body pores that it uses to eat, like I mentioned just now, and they are filter feeders. So when you guys watch SpongeBob SquarePants and SpongeBob has a mouth to eat the Krabby Patty, obviously that's fictional, so it doesn't resemble real life. Real life ocean sponges do not eat Krabby Patties. A sponge also doesn't have any kind of symmetry. We have symmetry, which we'll talk about later when we discuss chordata. But sponges, porifera, don't have any symmetry. They also don't really have what we would consider a skeleton. They do have kind of this pre-skeleton framework that gives it structure, but doesn't really have any kind of skeleton. Fun fact, if you take an ocean sponge and you run it through a filter, like a sieve or something, a sieve is what you use to like cool off pasta. So you make the pasta, you put it in the sieve and the water drains out at the bottom. If you put a sponge through a sieve, then it could reorganize itself and become the sponge again. It's pretty neat. A ring for porifera. Cnidaria is next. Now, this C at the start of Cnidaria is silent. So it's Ni, Dare, E, Cnidaria. That's how you pronounce it. Ni, Dare, E, Cnidaria. And these are your jellyfish. And your sea anemones. Sea anemone. You guys seen us Finding Nemo? I love jellyfish. There's so many different kinds, big, small, glowing, non-glowing. Jellyfish look kind of like aliens, don't they? But they inhabit the world just like you and me. I love going to aquariums. I'm going to abbreviate these guys as MES, mouth or anus, external features, symmetry, and skeleton. Jellyfish and sea anemones only have one hole. And this hole functions as both mouth and anus. Can you imagine having one hole for a mouth and an anus? So you'd be eating in the same hole that you poop out of? Goodness. The jellyfish has very interesting tentacles. These tentacles are not like the tentacles of an octopus or a squid. Their tentacles have the ability to sting. And they have these really awesome cells. They're called nematocysts. A nematocyst is like a natural harpoon. So when you get stung by a jellyfish, this cell activates and it sends out this little projectile that harpoons into your skin and then leaves a very painful after effect. They have a certain kind of symmetry called radial symmetry. I think some of you guys in your stump speeches did a really good job at explaining what radial symmetry is. I'm going to go up here to explain it again. Imagine you have a pie and you're looking at this pie from the top. Because it's Thanksgiving, pretty soon, let's call it pumpkin pie. Radial symmetry means if you were to take a slice of that pie, just like this, it is identical on either side of that pie. That's radial symmetry. And it's the same thing you can do through the middle here. Make another line, it's the same on either side. That's radial symmetry. So if you were to cut a jellyfish, at any angle through its center, it would look the same on either side. That's what radial symmetry means. It could be a pie, it could be a cookie, whatever you want. Jellyfish don't have a skeleton. It doesn't even have a pre-skeletal frame like a porifera does. No skeleton at all. Some cnidaria have a calcium carbonate shell. Not all, but some of them have a calcium carbonate shell. We were introduced to calcium carbonate when we were talking about ocean acidification. So as the oceans begin to acidify more and more, the cnidaria are becoming more and more endangered. A ring for cnidaria. Platyhelminthes. This is probably one of the most difficult ones to spell, even more difficult to pronounce. But they're also pretty neat, I think. They look like worms. This is a flatworm, and here is a tapeworm. You guys may have heard of these tapeworms before. I don't know if I told it to you guys in this class, but they can get lodged in your small intestines and they can live there and grow up to 20 feet long. It's pretty disgusting. I have a story to tell you about tapeworms in a second. But we are approaching 22 minutes, so I have to speed it up a little bit. Platyhelminthes have one hole, same as cnidaria, both mouth and anus. The external features of these worms is that on the outside they look like little ribbons. They're ribbon-like. They're also parasitic organisms, so they are heterotrophs, but they rely on other organisms for their carbon, so they're parasitic. They also have bilateral symmetry. This is different from radial symmetry. Radial symmetry is like when you cut a pie, but bilateral symmetry means there's a particular midline, and on either side of that midline, you have more or less a mirror image. So if I were to cut a flatworm down its midline, both sides would look like a mirror image of each other. Same thing with human beings. It's not perfect. There are some parts of your body that will not be symmetrical about this midline, but it's pretty close. No skeleton. It's soft. These worms are very soft. You can tear them apart. They don't have a lot of internal bones. Well, they don't have any internal bones, so you can tear them pretty easily. Okay, here's my tapeworm story. You ready? I don't know if this is verified. I don't know if it's true, but I read it recently and it's pretty gross, so I want to share it with you. Okay. This man had eaten salmon sashimi for like a year. That's all he ate was salmon sashimi. And he realized that he was beginning to lose a lot of weight despite having all of the salmon sashimi. That really alarmed him. One day when he was sitting on the toilet, going poo, he noticed and felt something wriggling out of his butthole. And you know, when you feel something kind of moving, it feels uncomfortable, right? So he reached into the toilet bowl and started pulling at this thing. And as he was pulling, there was a little bit of blood that was coming out, and he knew that, okay, something's wrong. So he took like the toilet paper roll and used it as a spool to kind of wrap this worm around the spool. He then removed everything. It was quite painful. Went to the doctor, it went to the emergency room. with this spool of a tapeworm inside a plastic bag, and he said, okay, can I get anti-worm medication? And the doctors were so alarmed that they, talked to some journalists about it. I think the man is okay. It's pretty gross. But I want you all to know that if you have a tapeworm, they're pretty easy to get rid of. All you have to do is take some anti-worm medication, and there you go. There was a joke a few years back about if you want to lose weight, you eat a tapeworm, and the tapeworm will take away your nutrition, and you'll lose weight. Yeah, it will, but it'll also take away the vitamins and such, so not a good idea. I think that was a joke on The Office. I think Kelly ate a tapeworm or something, and she like begins to shiver, like, I look amazing. Okay, 26 minutes, we can do like 2 more. Let's talk mollusca. I love mollusca. Here's an octopus. I will not draw all 8 legs, but you guys get the idea. Let's make it a happy octopus. And you can't forget your bivalves, which are your clams. I don't know if I rang for Platyhelminthes, but there you go, that's the ring. So mollusca are the first of our phyla to have separate mouth and anus, just like us. It has one hole for the mouth and one hole for the anus. Now, I know I put like a little smiley face here for the octopus, but the octopus actually has a beak. Like it looks like the beak of a bird. If you lift up the legs of the octopus and look at the center, you'll see that it has a little beak, and that beak is called a radula. It's kind of scary. Oh wait, sorry. The radula is something different, but the beak is something that the octopus has. Now, you know what? Let me look this up just to make sure. I don't want to lie to you guys. Let me make sure I know what a radula is. I'm pretty sure I do. Ah, yes, that's right. That's what I thought it was. Okay. A radula is something that a bivalve has. So what it does is that, do you guys know a Pokemon called Shelter? Shelter from the like Generation 1. Shelter has that tongue that comes out of its shell that can eat stuff. That's called the radula. Mollusks are bilateral, and some have a calcium carbonate shell as well. So bivalves will have calcium carbonate shells. Octopus, of course, will not. Okay, I think we're almost at 30 minutes. I'm going to stop there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can stop there. Yeah, let's just stop there. It's Veterans Day. So that's the animal phyla so far. Let's summarize. There are 4 phyla we were introduced to today: Porifera, Cnidaria, Platyhelminthes, and Mollusca. Each have different external features. They also have different ways of consuming food and releasing food. And they also have different kinds of symmetry as well as particular skeletons. So these are all real things, by the way. They're not fictional. And it's so wonderful to study these animals because there's such a large range of different species within each of these phyla that you can spend an entire lifetime just studying. There's a wonderful man. His name is David Attenborough. He's in his 90s now, and I'm afraid that he won't live much longer. But this is a man who spent nearly his entire life being a wildlife documentarian. And so he has narrated all kinds of documentaries dating back to the 80s and the 70s. When I think of someone who loves animals and loves nature and loves biology, I think of him. And there's just so much to explore out there. I'm going to end it with that. And I will see you guys. I'm going to stop that share. I'll see you guys next week to finish this off. And then if you didn't get the remind, we're not going to do the practicum tomorrow. We're going to do a practice one tomorrow, just so you guys know what it feels like. And then next week before Thanksgiving, we'll take the real practicum. So hopefully you guys are doing well. I'm excited to see you, as always, at the end of the week. Happy Veterans Day, guys. Peace.